Well, welcome to the meeting, everyone. We're just waiting for a few more to sign. I don't have it right in front of me. Oh yeah, it's 8:58, so we have a couple more minutes. I will start pretty much on time. Hope you all got the links I sent out yesterday. Sorry to send, I think I sent each 2 emails, but there's one email is a link to our Google Drive that I loaded a lot of documents on there. We're not going to go through all of these in the 3 hours or less that we have here today, but it's usually, you know, in in-person classes, I'll print off all of these documents and prepare like a binder for everybody just to use for reference in their job. But anymore, it's you know, you don't need to, you know, print and have it in a binder. You can just put it in a file on your computer. That's your choice. I see some of you have already been in my class before. I remember your names from last year and
yeah,
the year before. I see some new people. I sent out the questionnaire just to kind of get a gauge on, you know, if there were any new secretaries, and I didn't see any yet. So I think, you know, we're all have done this before, and hopefully they're just, you know, joining this class for a refresher. And I really encourage you to speak up, or, you know, I think this started with everybody on mute, but you know, you can unmute yourself if you have a question or want to add a comment. I think a lot of value out of this class is sharing different experiences. Especially, I just have to say, you know, and I'm going to go ahead and actually start. It's time to start. And my name is Jeff Ulrich. I'm the district secretary for Johnny Appleseed District. This is my 3rd year of doing this as a district secretary. I'm a member of the Greater Central Ohio chapter. I've had about 18 years in the society. I started out in Florida and then moved up to Ohio 15 years ago and joined the Greater Central Ohio chapter, where I've had various roles. Generally, I was mostly the course manager. I just kind of did that. I was chapter president one year. I was chapter secretary one year, but I think other year, other than the last couple of years, I was a chapter officer. Now I'm just a district officer, a chapter secretary, which, you know, all of you will interact with me at some point, especially once we get back up and running after the pandemic is cleared up and you're having shows again and sending me show applications. That's kind of where most of the interaction you guys have with me. But I'm going to go through, you know, what we see is the role of the chapter secretary, and you know, what's expected of you, and give you access to probably some of the documents and manuals available. I'm going to start on this first one. I'm not going to read every one of these slides. I think I have 70 pages on here, and I'm definitely not going to do that. But I'll kind of touch on some of these things, and if you have questions, go ahead and ask them while we're on this topic. I may refer us to, you know, refer you to wait until we get to that. But you know, if it's something that comes up while it's in your mind, please bring it up. There's 8 of us on right now. 20 people signed up. I got responses back from 10 yesterday. So I anticipate others might join while we're starting the meeting. I included the link to the Google Drive where I uploaded all of these. I think there's 10 or so documents in there. And I don't know, I already started talking about this, but generally when we have an in-person LeadAc in the class, I'll print these and make a binder. And I think if you were in my class last year, remember that, and probably years before. But there's the chapter secretary manual is the first document in there. Yep. Thanks, John. It hasn't changed, and it probably should be updated because it's a couple years old. But that's downloaded directly from the society website. Now, I don't know if you're all aware, but there's a major upgrade on this document section, or the members only section actually on the website. It's been down all week, and it's scheduled to come up on Monday. And I honestly don't know how much it's going to change. I was able to log into it yesterday. I went to clicked on the link. It took me to a page where I changed my username and password. The username now, I think that it doesn't have your email address in it anymore. And the password you have to add. There's just a little bit of difference on it. And once I did that, I logged in, and it's definitely different, but I don't think it's done yet. So I want to really even review it, because it's, usually I would probably, especially now that we're on the computer, I would just, go to that page and look at it. But I'm afraid to, because I don't think it's really, they said it's not ready till Monday. And and honestly, I couldn't find some of the things I thought I would see there. And there are differences, like when you log in, if you look at your own profile, it doesn't display anything. It displays your name. You actually have to go in and click update or edit or something, and then check a mark that you allow certain things to be displayed to everybody else. So if you want your birth date, or but it doesn't display anything other than your name until you go in and do that, which is kind of strange, because I don't anticipate everybody doing that. And as a secretary, you need to be able to see that type of information. So hopefully there's another link somewhere in there that, as a secretary logging in, you'll see that information without members having to allow that. I mean, it doesn't display their email, their phone, it doesn't display anything but their name, and that's not very useful. So I hate to even bring it up, because it's not done yet, but I'm telling you what I saw when I logged in yesterday. And what I'm talking about is this online BHS online document center. There's members only, and then there's a document center. Usually there's you've all been secretaries. I'm sure you've all gone in and you see you can click on your chapter, and it lists all your chapter members, and that's how hopefully you've all updated your leadership, so you have access to that this year. The business of barbershop guidance. So these are documents I did put on that shared drive. So you regardless of where we're at with the society website, you can access that. This email link is pretty good, chapters@barbershop.org. I've used that. So for example, I emailed everybody in the JAD district. I know there's some people here. So hold on, I have people waiting to get in it too. Let me click to let them in. I know we have attendees here that are from some other districts. So I'm kind of speaking from the JAD district. It shouldn't be a lot different in other districts, but if it is, I really don't have the information on the other districts. JAD has 3 states in our district, so we'll talk about some things that are specific by state, and honestly, I don't know what the differences between the states. I can speak to Ohio because I'm in Ohio, but you'll need to be familiar with anything that's different for your state. Now, I'll kind of point that out where there are state differences. So here's kind of an outline of what we want to do today. I did send to you, I think I attached it to the email, this quiz. Hopefully you looked at that. It just kind of, it's not a quiz you need to send back to me and and I share with people. It's kind of for your own information on some of the details of what you obtained from attending this meeting. So we're going to cover the role of the secretary, the responsibilities, both for the corporate, business, communication, and meeting. That's a lot of what we would focus on in this. Member reporting, I'm not going to touch on that a whole lot because that definitely has changed. With this presentation, or this whole slide deck was prepared before they added the online member reporting. And honestly, I don't really have experience doing that because I haven't been a chapter secretary. And I know we talked about this in the JDAC the LeadAc meeting last year, that you can add your new members online. So maybe when we get to that section, if you have done that, want to add some details, I don't think it's that difficult. And I know that one of the new features of that's enabled on Monday is actually paying your dues online and making those changes. And that when I logged in yesterday, I could see that, and it's interesting. It shows every payment you've ever made, and a lot more information than I've ever seen online before. We will talk about the chapter filings, and that's kind of where I was mentioning that that's different by state. chapter reporting, we'll talk about that. And some of these other things we'll just touch on, the youth policy, insurance. And these are some of the documents I did include in the Google Drive. So you'll have that information. But it's stuff we need to be aware of, but I'm not going to go into a lot of detail today on that. We do have, we allowed 3 hours for this. We will take a break at 10:30. If I don't have a clock right in front of me, so if I get to 10:30 and we're not stopping, please let me know, because I think we'll all probably need to take a quick break then. I see we have 12 people online now. People, they're still joining. So this was the document I sent out yesterday, the pre-course assignment. This is really for your information. We'll go into some more details on this, but how many voting members does your chapter board have? This is information you would obtain from the members only portion of the website. It'll tell you exactly how many paid members are in your chapter, how many haven't been paid. Of course, you only want to include the paid members as voting members, but that you can obtain that information from the society website. I want to just quick go through, let everybody go through, and I'll just call on you to or I can unmute you. I think you can, and just let us all know your name, where you're from, number of years in the society, number of years as the chapter secretary, a gold medal moment from your barbershop life, if you have one. Hopefully you have one. And then what do you hope to get out of this training? And I'll start again because a few more people have joined the call. I'm Jeff Ulrich. I'm the district secretary. I've been district secretary here in Johnny Appleseed for, this is going on my 3rd year now. Been in the society 18 years. I was a chapter secretary only for 1 year, but I was president. I was the chapter manager for most of the years I've been in the society. I'm a member of the Greater Central Ohio chapter, the Alliance Chorus. My gold medal, one of my gold medal moments, in addition to singing on the international stage and winning medals, was actually our chorus was invited to open for one of the Radio City Rockettes Christmas shows at Radio City Music Hall. It was probably about 8 years ago. So not the whole chorus went, but a lot of us did, and we sang on stage to, I don't know, that theater's huge. It's like 20,000 people. So that was pretty amazing. And then what I hope to get out of this training is just to help you all to refresh a lot of you, just refreshing on what you need to do as secretary, and also provide you with the information you may need and ways to find it. So Dennis, why don't you go ahead and start?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I'm Dennis.
I'm just going to I'll call each of you out individually. I'm
Dennis Purdy, and I'm the secretary of the Capital City Chorus in Columbus. Been in barbershopping 25 plus years, I suppose. I was only 3 years old when I started. That was a joke, by the way. I've been a secretary for 3-4 years, I think, and nobody else wanted it, and we had to have a secretary, so I'm it. My gold medal moment, I think, is from a quartet that I was still in, but it's not working. It's not active right now. The quartet was invited to sing at the Ohio State Fair in 2015, which was huge for us. And that was probably the biggest thrill of my life in barbershopping. I mean, that's a big honor, I think, to be invited to do that. And I'm just hoping to just refresh. You always get something out of these training sessions. So just hoping to refresh and get to talk to people.
Okay, well, thank you, Dennis. I see that our district president's joining. Welcome, Chris. We're just starting off kind of introducing each other. If you want to jump in here, right, this would be a good point.
Jeff, my audio just turned on. Were you talking to me?
Yeah, I saw you joined, and yeah, I just was saying we were just kind of starting off with introductions of each other, and this would be a good point if you want
Okay, is it just the 4 attendees you have?
No, there's 14 attendees.
Okay, that's not what's showing up for me. Sorry. All right, good morning, guys. Chris Foisey, I'm the district president of the Johnny Appleseed District. Just brand new this month. I'm a week into the job here. Really glad to be with you this morning. Glad you're here with us this morning. Thank you for participating in this program. This is, one of the things we wanted to do for the district and still put a program on that made sense, that you guys could take advantage of and learn from. Jeff is a great teacher and moderator. You'll get a lot of value out of today for sure. This event marks a full year now of not being together live and in person. The LeadAc last year was our last live in-person event. And for me personally, that's really, really painful. I look forward to all of our events and being with all of you, being able to sing with all of you, and being able to do these types of things together as well. I do believe we will be back together this year. I do think 2021 will see us all back together face to face and singing together again. And I'm excited for that opportunity. I do think it will be in the fall. Right now, we are planning for the fall convention to be our first convention back together. And I certainly hope that we can all be back together there. For all our Cardinal District friends, thanks for joining us today too. And hopefully we'll all get to be together soon as well. Does anyone have any questions for me this morning?
Chris, you mentioned that you think we'll be together. What is the feeling amongst the JAD people as to when it will be safe to get together? What are some of the prerequisites that will indicate it's okay to, do group singing again?
Well, Tom, we're still relying on the officials and the experts and the science. And
Yes, and I'm all for that.
Mm-hmm. So that's what that we're waiting for signals from them, right?
Okay.
Like when they say it's okay for more than 100 people to gather together again, I think we'll take that as our cue to move forward with our plans. And at some point they will say that, right? Like they will come out and say, a significant portion of the population is past this. So, we're going to take our cues from our leaders.
Thank you.
Sure. Anything else, guys?
I see that the session is being recorded. Are other sessions being recorded, and will they be made available for viewing at some point?
Yes. Every session is being recorded this morning, and we expect to put those up on YouTube in short order. And then don't forget, at 1 o'clock today, we have our re-entry class focusing on issues related to getting the guys back together and, being back together in person in your chapter meetings. So I hope you all can join us for that 1 o'clock class. I think it'll be really valuable. And I think you'll get a lot from it.
Chris, this is Gary Stattler.
Hi, Gary.
Like many of the chapters, we've scheduled an annual show in last year, and then had to cancel it, and then thought we maybe could do it again this spring, and decided no, there's no way. And right now we're talking about September. Now, if we ask for clearance for September, will the society allow us to put on a show?
I don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head, but we'll certainly check that out. I don't think they'll prevent you from having a show, but and I don't think that would affect your clearance request. I think you can, Jeff, actually, that's a good question for you.
Yeah, they do not. prevent you from having a show, and they will accept your clearance request, and they will not refund your money if
Yeah, I
choose not
found
to have a
that
show.
out.
I had some questions on that and found that out. Unfortunately, and it does state that on the application that it's not refundable. I'm not going to add my personal opinion on that, but that's the fact.
All right, guys, if at any time, also the district is working hard to continue to put on virtual events and have things for you to participate in, and even though it's online. But our Harmony Harvest was this past fall, which was, I think, a really nice concert for everybody. We are having a spring convention, so to speak, where quartets will be able to come and shoot their video for qualification for Cleveland. So if you all have, and I hope you participate in those programs, if there's anything else you can think of that we should be doing or could be doing, or you'd like to see us do, please get in touch. You can call me, you can email me, whatever you're most comfortable with. And I'd love to hear from you.
Hey, Chris, you mentioned Cleveland. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah, the Cleveland Convention right now, by all accounts, is still intended to happen. It may look quite a bit different than what we're used to for an international convention, but it does sound as if quartets will meet and sing in some form here in Cleveland, and right now the host committee is moving forward almost as if it was a regular convention. Obviously, there's some things that need to be different in order to maintain proper health and safety protocol, but it's intended to move forward.
Yeah, and there's a link on the JAD website for information on that, and we are actually looking for volunteers from JAD to help out with that. And I think it's not just quartets; it'll be chorus participation also, as of last we've heard about.
That's what they're hoping.
Yeah, but there's a lot of changes on it. I mean, it's going to be, you can pay for daily rather than the entire amount. The amount's cheaper. I mean, there's a lot of changes for the better, and just take a look at that and sign up to volunteer if you're interested.
For sure.
Okay, thanks, Chris. We were just kind of starting through class introduction, just quick introductions of each other, just so we all kind of are on the same page of where we're from, what kind of experience we have, that type of thing. I don't want to take a whole lot of time on that, but let's continue through this. Dennis has already introduced himself. How about Tom?
Hey, I'm Tom Griswold. I'm from the Dayton chapter, Dayton Metro chapter. I've been a barber shopper now for 16 years. In 2012, I became a chapter secretary. Then I served for 4 years as chapter president. And after 4 years, I've gone back to the board last year and this year as secretary. My gold medal moments in barbershopping was being able to host the district convention that was held in Dayton in the fall of 2019. That was the last one before the pandemic. And I was also co-chair of two very successful shows that we put on. We call them Halloween Party, and the other one was Rock Roll Remember. The rock and roll show was really popular. I told the chapter I would volunteer to be a show chair, but you have to do rock and roll. And they gave us standing ovations for both of the performances we did. It was just a fantastically fun event. I'm done.
Thanks, Tom. Hi, Ann. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure, hang on. Need to get back
Can
to
I
the screen.
introduce myself? Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry I'm late. I had an invalid link and Michelle finally got me in from, I got to her in the marketing session. I'm Mcalexander. I'm currently from Chicago, although most of my BHS life was in Cardinal. My husband's still a member there of Circle City Sound. I've been a barber shopper for 40 years this year, and my BHS membership card says 12. So I spent the first 9 years as an associate, and then this year will mark my 3rd year as a member. This is my first time being a chapter secretary in BHS, although I was one in Sweet Adelines previously. And my gold medal moment is probably when I won a gold medal, a chorus gold medal on stage with the Melodiers Chorus in 2011. And my daughter was on stage with me, so I took her medal. As they handed me mine, I took hers and put it around her neck. So I think that was actually my gold medal moment. And what do I hope to get out of this training? I'm currently in the Northbrook chapter. I'm serving as their secretary. So they're like a well-oiled machine. They have a great list of what everybody's supposed to do when, and they've always run it that way. So I'm here to find out what else they haven't thought of or they don't currently have in their long-standing process. And then just to hear other things that I should be aware of.
Great, thanks, Ann. And maybe you can add in some comments as we get to different areas on different ways you may have done this too.
Thanks, I will try.
Gary, you're next.
Yes, Gary Stattler. I've been a member for 23 years. I started out in the Springfield, Ohio chapter. I was secretary there, was president. Unfortunately, one of my duties as president there was when we decided that we no longer had enough people and didn't have a director, and we disbanded. So that was unfortunate that I was president during that time. I'm now a member of Xenia chapter, Xenia Hospitality chapter. And I have been, this will be the 4th year as a secretary there. I suppose this is no big deal for most of you, but as I started in Springfield and to stand up in an annual show in a quartet and sing for the first time was kind of scary, and I did it now, so that was a big moment for me. Like I say, no big deal for most of you, but I'm just here today because I want to make sure I'm doing everything right. So Jeff, you won't get on my case, okay?
Okay. Thank you. Barry, you're next. You need to unmute your microphone.
Yeah, I got it. Excuse me, my name's Barry Kelly. I'm the secretary. Been since 2018 for the Huntington Tri-State chapter in Huntington, West Virginia. Been in barber shop for a little over 4 years. I, as well, since 2019, I serve as secretary and treasurer for the course. Gold medal moment was probably the first year I was in at the spring competition. We won our plateau, which was a pretty cool way to start. And just here for refresher and see if anything new is going on.
Okay. Thank you. Brian, you're next.
Hello, I'm Brian Baldus. I sing with the Singing Buckeyes in Columbus. I joined BHS in 2013, so about 7 years. I'm currently board member at large, not secretary. I was a chapter secretary in Sterling Rock Falls chapter in Illinois for less than a year before I moved to Columbus in 2017. Gold medal moment was singing at International in Salt Lake City in 2019. And what I hope to get out of the training, I read through PowerPoint while I was secretary, but didn't have an official session like this. So a more formal course is appreciated. And then in case I'm ever secretary again.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Dale, you're next.
Hi, I'm Dale Schmounter. I sing with the Cleveland East Suburban Airs and the Tower City Chorus. I'm secretary of Cleveland East Suburban Airs. Let's see, I'm 9 years now. I guess it's my 9th year in BHS, and I've probably been secretary about 6 years. I apologize because I missed the instructions on what we're supposed to be doing in this. My president called me and trying to get into his session, so I was busy trying to help him. So I'm not exactly sure, even listening to some of you talk about your gold medal moments, what that would be for me. I thoroughly enjoy the harmonies and have always enjoyed singing, but have never thought that I have a voice that should be singing in public, but decided to start that about 9 years ago with BHS, and have since been in several quartets and have thoroughly enjoyed that. So I guess maybe that's my gold medal moment. And as far as the training, I'm just hoping to pick up anything I can on this to do a better job for my chapter. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you. And just John, no last name next.
Well,
Just
John, John Dyer. I'm the secretary for the Akron chapter. I joined August 2018, excuse me, and they jumped me right into being the president in 2019. So I've enjoyed it a lot. I really don't have a gold medal moment since I'm so new, but what I hope to get out of the training is just learn to be a better chapter secretary. That's
Very
about
good.
it.
Thank you. We have John Franzfog.
I am John Franzfog. I sing with Lexington Kentuckians and the Louisville Thoroughbreds. I'm the secretary in Louisville. This is my 3rd year with that. I'm also the 1st year as Cardinal District Secretary. So that's gonna be a new experience, and I wanted to get a chance to see everybody and make some contacts. My gold medal moment, besides one chance on the international stage, I think would be when we performed the national anthem before a NASCAR race at the Kentucky Speedway. And today I'm hoping to kind of just get a good refresher and then just say, see some faces again and maybe renew some contacts.
Great. Thank you, John. Looks like Barry. We already had Barry. Who's next? Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin Vandemer. I'm from the Pittsburgh Metro chapter. I've been in BHS for 5 years now, and I've been a secretary for 3 of those years. As for my gold medal moment, I would have to say my quartet and I went to Harmony University 2 years ago now, and we got to perform on stage. We went through the whole quartet track and got to perform in front of a bunch of gold medalists, and it was really a lot of fun. And I hope to continue to learn some new things here. I've been to a LeadAc before, and I just wanted to make sure I'm keeping up my skills as a secretary.
Great, thank you. Lonnie, you're up next.
Lonnie Fluharty. I'm with the Clarksburg Fairmont chapter in West Virginia. 45 years as a barber shopper, all with the same chapter. About 4 years, 3 officially as a chapter secretary. My gold medal moment, I've had a lot of them in my career, but one that stands out was singing in the JAD chorus at International when it was in Pittsburgh the last time. When you're in a little chapter, it's a lot of fun singing with 10, 20, 30 guys. But when you get the opportunity to stand on stage and sing with 70 guys, it's impressive, and it's something that will stick with you forever. Getting out of this training, everything I can. One thing I've learned is that even when you think you know what you're doing, there's always the opportunity to miss something, overlook something. One of my first contests, we were complaining to the judges at the A&R session about we didn't know this, we didn't know that. And at one point, one of the judges just looked at us and said, well, who'd you ask? And that kind of shut us down because we hadn't asked anybody. We had just assumed somebody was going to tell us. So I'm here to make sure I ask the questions to understand what's going on and I'm doing everything right.
Thank you. Marge, you're up next, and you need to unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Marge Pizzino with the Licking County Chapter, Crystal City Chorus. This is our second year with BHS, and it's my second year as secretary. So I guess I may be it for life, who knows? But our gold medal moment was not with BHS, it was with Sweet Adelines, where we celebrated 55 years of existence. And then we left Sweet Adelines. But anyway, what I hope to get out of this training is, actually I spent the first year trying to figure out the website, the old website. And I was hoping we'd have more information on what the new website was going to be like, but I'll just hang in there on that one.
Yeah, it doesn't open until Monday, and I think some people have joined the call since I've talked about this, but it's. I logged in yesterday, and you can try logging in and see it, but I don't think it's all up and running yet. And It definitely looks different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just different. So sorry, I was hoping we could go through that today, but that's. And what I'll probably do is see if I can schedule another like an optional session, like another Zoom meeting, and we can all go through this together. Once it's up and running and we're familiar with it, that might be helpful.
Yeah, that would help.
Okay. All right. So I think Scott is next. No, Ron. I'm sorry, Ron.
Okay, I'm Ron Williams, the secretary for Canal Valley, Canal Courtsman, and I've been a member for about 26 years, secretary for about 10. They're going to make me keep doing it until I get it right, I guess. My gold medal moment was singing with the Gas House Gang at an afterglow with one of our shows. And my reason for being here is to keep up to date and refresh myself on what's happening and trying to keep current. And I guess that's about it.
All right, thank you. Scott, you're next now, and you need to unmute yourself.
Good morning, I'm Scott Nielsen with the Kentuckians Chorus as well. And I guess I'm just here to hang out with John and see what I can learn from him as well as we go. I've been with Chorus for about 3 or 4 years and just starting as a chapter secretary. Gold medal moment, I'm going to have to say I haven't had it yet. It's still coming.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. I think everybody has had their chances. If not, just unmute yourself and let me know. It looks like I have 16 people in the meeting, including myself, which is. There are a few people, 21 signed up. So I did hear from one that wasn't going to. So hopefully everybody's was able to get in. Oh, I'm sorry, there is somebody waiting in the waiting room. And I don't know how familiar all of you are with Zoom meetings. I work at Ohio State University. I'm on Zoom meetings every day of the week. So I'm fairly familiar with them. One of the challenges is like when people are in this waiting room, I don't see, it doesn't like pop up right in front of me. I have to kind of keep looking for that. So if you see me kind of looking around here, it's because I'm trying to make sure everybody's is included in this meeting.
Jeff, I do have a quick request. I had to get in with the help of the marketing team, like I said, because my Zoom link wasn't the right one. And I do use Zoom all the time also. Could someone in the chat someone had given me the link that had all the links for all the rooms. And that's how I finally got in this one. Does someone have that? I forgot to copy it and it was in marketing chat. So I no longer have access to it. I just want to make sure that I can move around if needed today and get
Yeah, I
back
don't,
in if I need to.
yeah, I don't have that. So yeah, if anybody else has that, so to get to chat, like on my screen, it doesn't, it's not on the bar. I have to click a little more on the
Okay,
right side.
somebody just posted it. That's all I
Okay,
need.
good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, just for everybody else, if you want to, I'll keep the chat window open. So either you can, unmute yourself and ask a question, or while we're going through this, I think, with 16 of us on here, we should be able to keep that under control. Otherwise, you can type a question or anything else in the chat box, and you get there by just clicking on that link. Hopefully everybody is at least on the video portion and sees what we're going through. Again, I know some people have joined. I hate to I'm not going to keep repeating this, but I sent out a link with a Google Drive where all of these documents are stored. So you have those for reference. I would say you go in there at some point, soon. I don't know how long that'll be available, probably at least for a while, but I would, while you have time today, go in there and download those documents to your local. Usually that's what I provide. When we've had these classes in person, I make that into a binder for your reference, but you can keep that on your computer as you choose. But there's a lot of documents on there. I'm certainly not going to go through all those in the 3 hours we have here. And we're going to try to take a break here at 10:30. We have until noon. I don't really anticipate this going that long, but we have that long if necessary. I'm going to start with the role of the chapter secretary. I don't want to read all these slides, so I'm just going to try to touch on what we're really about. And as you know, I mean, chapters are required to have a president, a secretary, and a treasurer. That's really all we have to have, and you're one of the key roles. You're the secretary, and I thank you all for participating. And we have at least one new one. We have several of us that have done it for a while. Some of us done this for a long time. So we have a good group here, and I thank you for taking the time to get together and go over this information again. The secretary, I don't know, I just consider it one of the most important roles in the chapter. You kind of keep it going. The chapter presidents change more often than the secretaries do, and even the treasurers. So I see my role as a district secretary. It's kind of I used to be a course manager, and I always thought of that as herding cats. But secretary is kind of the same thing. You just need to keep the chapter moving and pretty much help the president with information and running meetings, a lot of stuff, a lot of these things that we'll talk about. You do have corporate responsibilities. You are one of the voting board members. You are responsible for maintaining the corporate status with your state. I don't think we have any provinces here, but I've heard we have Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Indiana, Illinois involved in is represented here today, and all of us probably have different state corporate status responsibilities. I know for Ohio, there's a link, a website link that I go to, and in Ohio we have to renew our corporate status online. I want to say every 5 years. It's not every year, but it's more than every 1 year, and it'll remind you. I mean, when you go on there, if you're new to your secretary role, you need to change the name that's with your state, so you get those notifications. And that's all. At least in Ohio, it's done online. I assume all the other states are that way, but that's very important, because you don't want your status with the state to lapse. I mean, it can be reinstated, and there's a process to go through that also. But it's just easiest to make sure that's you have your corporate status with the state. And in order to do that, and again, each state's probably different, but it'll ask you, for if you, and I assume I don't think we have any new chapters. Just this is already set up, but you have to list your you have meetings. There's certain things you have to list on there. But has anybody had any other experience with their state and maintaining their corporate status. I just did that for the district this year. It was up for the district renewal this year. And I think it's the same between the district status and a chapter status, but they're separate. But it's the same process. So that was the corporate responsibilities. Membership responsibilities are really and this. The secretary is responsible for the membership and adding new members and working with that. But I think that varies by chapter. I mean, I know the Greater Central Ohio, the membership chairman did that. So I honestly don't have a lot of experience doing that. My understanding, I have the forms. I've provided those to the membership chairman. They fill them out, give them back to me. I send them to the society. Now that it can all be done online, and I believe that's by role. So if you're listed in your online in the members only as the chapter secretary, you get different permissions than others. So, like for example, adding new leaders or adding new members, a regular member can't do that, but you as a chapter leader can. I haven't seen that, and that's something I want to look for as soon as I can see the rest of the new member, the new member area. And I'm just gonna. Has anybody tried doing that online yet? Adding, I'm sure you have new members online.
I've added several online on the old system. I don't know how the new one's going to work though.
Yeah. Can you just kind of high level explain how you did that?
Well, under like I said, the old, they were just, and once you got into your chapter, leadership role there, you would just click a link, add a member to your course or chapter, I think it said. And what you would do was I would just put in their name, address, email address, contact information, things of that nature. And I would tell them, or, select the membership that they wanted, which was usually just a 1 year, membership for the district, 1 year for the chorus, 1 year for the Harmony Society. And it had the dollar amounts that they would owe. And then at that time, I would just complete that. They would send an email to the new member to finish out the actual payment online. So it was a pretty simple process. I was able to log in a little bit yesterday. You were talking about the new website. So far, I am very unimpressed. Very,
yeah,
very mixed up, very incomplete, I believe.
Yeah, well, and as I said, I don't think it is finished. I think I don't know if they know that we could actually log into it yet. So I know that they're still working on it. So
yeah, I logged into it. It let me log in, but
yeah, me too.
Couldn't really find anything.
Yeah, I couldn't find the area where we add new leaders or see our other chapter members or district. I couldn't even find that. But the one thing interesting is it clearly shows you what your chapter dues are and district dues. Now, and mine, it let me go in and edit that. So, and I know we couldn't do that online before. So I think that's promising.
Well, hopefully it'll get better.
Oh yeah, it's a change, and we just have to learn it, and yeah, we of course hope it has more functionality, and that's why they're doing this. So I did get a question here on the society use policy, and it's established by the society. There's a link in there, and it is one of the documents I did put up on the website. I'm not personally that familiar with it. There are some documents, like if you have a youth at your at a chapter meeting, there's certain procedures you need to be aware of and follow. And I think there's even a form that they may sign. I know there's a form if they sign as a member, or try to when they become a member, and their parents have to sign. When we get to, I have this kind of the end of the agenda, and we can open that up and just kind of discuss that. But it's in there. Celebration of members.
Jeff, if you don't mind, I've got a comment to make about membership. A lot of our members are joint members, and frequently some of them are very inactive. There are fellows that have moved out of the area but want to keep ties with their old chapter, their former chapter. Well, that seems all to the good, but in reality, what it does is it taxes our chapter, because our liability insurance is based on the number of active members. So we have all these, we have half a dozen or so members that, will never come to hardly any meetings, but we have to the chapter has to wind up paying for liability insurance, on the basis of, the fact that they're listed as a member. In fact, the other thing about liability insurance is, in a virtual world, you don't really need it, but it's mandatory. And, all of us are scraping bottom in terms of revenue. So anything we can do to save chapter funds would be to the better.
Yeah,
that's my comment.
Okay, and if they're showing up as a chapter member, then they are paying your chapter dues. That's what a member does. So they are contributing to your chapter by their dues.
Actually, I'm not sure that that's the case, but
yeah,
you may be right. You may be right, in which case I'm way off.
Yeah, that's the only way they show up as a chapter members if they're paid. You at least on the old site, you could download and it'll show you the status, whether they're an active member. Active means they're paid. They can be, I forget the terminology for it, but there's like a period where they're unpaid, where they're lapsed. I think lapsed was the terminology, and then there's inactive members. The active members are what you see in your the total and it says that on the site. It says active members, and they do pay whatever your dues are, and that's set by the chapter as to what their dues are. The district dues, and they'll be in the district dues also. The district dues are $25 a year. And the last thing on here, the reporting, you're responsible for general reporting to board and members. So generally, the chapters I think they're required to have 4 meetings a year, but I think most chapters probably have somewhere between that and 12. It's up to you how many meetings you're having, but that's your responsibility to keep, and that chapter roster online. Again, it's the membership chairman does have access to that. So depending on the size of your chapter and maybe how you've done it, some of these roles you may split up within your chapter, but technically you are responsible for that. And then as far as the business responsibilities, we have society invoices and compliances. That's kind of shared between you and your treasurer. Because I know I don't. It's a district. We don't get invoices. So I assume I don't remember getting them when I was the chapter secretary. But they say that's really your responsibility. And then same again. This insurance. This is all provided by the society and automatically charged to you, and you have to have that. It's part of being a member, chapter being a member of the society. And there's a secretary, as chapter leader, we've had to use the insurance. We've had our property stolen. We've had other incidents. I mean, it's worked out pretty easily. I mean, there's a contact at the society office for insurance, and they're very responsive. And I assume some of you others have had to work with that also. And the last one is copyright compliance, show licensing. That really is where I interact with you when we're in a normal year where we're having shows. Is this the licensing applications, and I'm hoping that they put that online with the new system, but I haven't heard that and haven't seen that yet. But as it stands currently, and we're going to go into this in more detail on the licensing form and sending those in the process. And there's some things in there that I would like to see that aren't really listed in this. So that's
Jeff.
Yes.
Excuse me. This is Lonnie. Question about the show fee. The district charges a fee even if you don't have a show. And if we choose not to have a show, I can understand where the district needs the revenue and you need to pay the fee. But not having a show this last year really wasn't a choice. Is the district board thinking anything about waiving that for 1 year because of the circumstances of COVID?
Well, I have to look at that further. I don't believe that the district does charge a fee because the check you make payable is to the society, and when I get the application, it goes to the society. I don't know whether the district gets anything out of that, and then the application is non-refundable.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unfortunately, we've had to. I don't know, we've had to deal with that until this last year, and I know several of you asked about that, and I don't know if I sent a communication to everybody, but that's what I found out. That it was, and it's clearly stated on there, and the society did not refund it. So it is what it is. Communication responsibilities. It just just kind of just shows that you're kind of in the middle of the communication line here, and notifications. I'm not going to go through all that. The annual schedule. I have a document in here that I included in the shared drive that it kind of lists more of what needs to be done by the secretary per month, and it's not a lot, but it's like at December you need to make sure your new offices are updated, and I think it's June we need to have the financial report done, things like that. So that I'll open up that document when we get to that, but it's helpful for you all to review that. I'll try to remind my district's secretaries when some of these things come up. But we have to have elections in October. We're supposed to notify the chapter members of the upcoming elections before then. There's just some simple things that we need to do at certain times, and it's in that document. But I'll try to remind secretaries of that as it comes up also. The board meetings, again, you're the voting member, you are the recording secretary. I think that that's obviously probably the first thing you know when you become secretaries. You need to take the minutes of the meeting. I've provided you, and we'll kind of touch on there's a sample of meeting minutes, how you should take them, and setting the agenda for the board meeting. And that's one of the more challenging parts of this role, at least for me, even at the district level, is making sure the president has established an agenda for a meeting, and that the members are notified in advance of when the meeting is and what time, and this doing it on Zoom, have that link, and it's just kind of really running that or assisting the chapter president running it. I think, you know, I've seen it vary between different presidents as to how they want to run meetings, but you know, there are certain things that we need to make sure occur. And you know, the chapter president may help us with that, they may not, and it still needs to happen. And the presidents will rely on you for information. You know, you need to be familiar with the kind of Robert's Rules of Order. Not that, you know, there's a simplified version for smaller meetings, but you know, you need to keep the meeting running professionally. You need to make sure people the members have the opportunity to speak. And again, the president may do this. They may do this more than the secretary does. But if they don't, then you need to step in and make sure that happens. Also, you know, sharing that information with the members of the chapter. Like I've seen it vary in chapters where they don't advise the other members of the board meetings coming up. And I know most members probably don't want to listen in on a board meeting, but they certainly should have that opportunity to if they choose. Then the information. So as far as the responsibilities, before the meeting, you should announce the membership that the meeting is taking place. And this could be, you know, either an email to the members, or if you have a website area, you could post it on like a calendar on your website. Just make sure that the members know that the board is meeting and what you know, when and where, so that they do have that opportunity to attend if they choose, and know that their board is meeting on a regular basis. You should, and I ask the president for the agenda. I don't really create it, but I ask them, you know, because it's really their responsibility to have the agenda. But I ask for input from the president to start with. I distribute it and ask for, is there any other agenda items from the board members? And it's just kind of a formality. I do, sometimes I get answers back, sometimes I don't, but it's just an email out to the board. You know, we have a meeting this, well, at the end of the last meeting, you establish the next meeting date, time, that information. Then I about a week before that meeting, I'll send out that reminder. You know, we have this meeting Sunday at such and such time, blah blah blah, and ask. You know, hopefully they've given you their reports. If not, you remind them to get your report. I know sometimes they don't get reports from all the members, but you know, the more you establish that pattern and stick to it, the more successful you'll be in obtaining that. The membership status report. Maybe you do that. My experience is the membership VP or administrator would do that, but that you might want to, you know, remind them that you need that included in the report. So that's before the meeting. During the meeting, you need to record the minutes, of course, and then provide input during meeting discussions. That's a challenge because you're trying to keep track of, you know, who said who did what when. But like in my experience with the presidents, they'll ask, you know, how many did we need for a quorum? Do we have a quorum? It doesn't change a lot, but they pretty much ask you that every meeting, and just different procedural information. So be familiar with that. After the meeting, yes, go ahead. Is there a question?
Yes, this is Scott. I have a question about minutes. So I guess the simplest way I can ask this question is, what is required to be recorded for minutes? I've seen simple minutes. I've seen everything from a complete recording of the dialogue, and I have zero interest in doing that.
No, we'll get there. I think it's in this document, but I have a separate document on sample meeting minutes, and it's pretty high level. I mean, let me get the answer that when we get there.
Okay, thanks.
And then after the meeting, promptly prepare and publish minutes. I would recommend you just do those immediately, at least for me personally. If I don't do that, like right after the meeting, it may get brushed aside, and all of a sudden, it's time for me to remind of the next meeting, and I haven't even published the prior one. So personally, I would recommend I'm doing the minutes on my laptop, in that agenda document. I use that agenda document as the precursor for my meeting minutes. And I just do that while it's fresh in my mind. So prepare and publish. Publishing is maybe different by what you have available in the chapter. The district, we have our it's called Basecamp. It's a site where we keep all our documents, and there's a calendar and all. The only people on that are really the district board members, but that's where I publish them. There is a link on the Johnny Appleseed District website for those. We really haven't been good at keeping those published on the website. It's there. And anybody can always ask for them, but honestly, we haven't been publishing those on the website. Share information with the bulletin newsletter editor if there is one. Answer questions from the chapter membership. Share information with society. So after the meeting, really, though, is just is publishing those minutes in draft for the leaders to review and approve in your next meeting. Oh, so we do that. The sample meeting forms next. I think I need to open that. Let me just go ahead and stop this share and open up that document. That's not it. Give me a second. This is where it gets tricky. It's going from one document to the next. So I'm going to start with the agenda. Share the agenda.
Jeff, while you're pulling that up, I can ask yours or everybody's opinion.
Okay.
For the meeting minutes, I'm not good at multitasking, either typing my notes on the computer or writing handwritten notes that I can read later. I've gotten the habit of recording the entire board meeting and then just going back and kind of working from that because it just keeps everything clear for me. Does anybody else think that's a problem? That works a lot for me.
No,
that's what I have been doing. I record the minutes and then go back to it.
Okay, I lost my screen here. I apologize. I have too many windows open here at the same time. There we go. Okay, so everybody should see. So let's start with the agenda and then we'll do the minutes. And then in this, I really follow this same format for district as I did for chapter, but I think you can change it somewhat, but I don't know why you would. And you first is you call to order. No, mine is different. Is when I do the call to order, well, maybe we'll see this in the minutes part, but I list who was attending and who did not attend. In the chat, then the president does can sing. Have the members sing to start it. Then you have to review and approve the meeting agenda. Motions required for that. And the chapter secretaries report. This is where you're going to put the existence of a quorum. Probably want to go through the minutes part that's out, but this is just kind of, this is what I would send out to the leaders before the meeting. So, and this is, ask them for the president's input first and then go from there. But it's just generally, it has the VP reports, the standing committee reports. Move on to old business, new business, announcements for the good of the order, and adjournment. So that's kind of basic. That's just, I've done that. I don't know why you would do it much differently, but this is a good starting point if you don't have that already.
Jeff, a question, and you may defer this one again. What I noticed you have on here 3 points where motions are required. Can you describe what causes a motion to be required?
Yeah, I believe it's the Robert's Rules of Orders. And I'm sorry, I can't mute, but my dog is letting us all know that the mailman's here. Let me go close my door. Challenges of Zoom meetings. So let me go to the actual meeting minutes. Okay, this is probably more useful is the how you would take your meeting minutes or how you would record them. So and a lot of the stuff is going to stay the same for every meeting. You're going to have your chapter, board of directors meeting minutes, then you put your date. This stuff should always stay the same. But yeah, I'll record exactly what time it started. And that may change, if you schedule at 7, it started at 7. I just kind of make sure that's accurate. And here's like, he said on that agenda that it was required approval, and it doesn't mean you're going to have to ask every, I don't record, such and such move to approve the minutes. And such and such seconded, you can do that. It's not required to include the names. And here's I put who is in attendance, who is not, and I to make it easier, I just start out in my just general template is having all the members there to start with, and I just kind of cross them off or I highlight them as I know they're in attendance, so I don't have to ask. Especially doing these Zoom meetings, it's a little harder to keep track of who's on the call and not. So I just do that to start with. Then we say the secretary report. Now this example shows putting names in there. I remember, other than just from when I've taken this course years ago, is it was made clear we do not have to include names of who made motions and who seconded it, all other than you say a motion was made, it was seconded, and either approved by consensus or not. But that's really your choice. Now, you might want to just go by however your chapter has recorded their minutes in the past. You may want to stick with that, or if you feel a need to change that. But my understanding, just from what I've learned, is that's not required. That's always, it would come up in these different meetings as to whether or not that was required. So I'm just repeating how I learned it. But you do your minutes do include attaching all of these documents. So it's this this form you fill out and distribute, plus the reports, the prior meetings that were accepted. Now you may amend those or correct the meeting minutes during that. Now, hopefully you've distributed it. you've received corrections, if any, and redistributed the corrected copy. You're just approving like the last corrections. But sometimes, people didn't read it before the meeting, and there were corrections, and you have to make them during the meeting. So you may be including corrections. And I put it, because I'm doing mine in Word electronically. I use the watermark that says draft. So it's clear that it's your copy that's being distributed before the meeting. Once they've approved it, I change that watermark to approved or final, I think it says. So it is clear between versions. And I don't know, maybe it's just the way I take minutes or not, but I don't usually get a lot of corrections, but sometimes I do, and sometimes it depends on the meeting and who's talking. Sometimes after a meeting, I'll ask somebody, will you send me this, this information so I can include it more accurately in the minutes rather than me interpreting what you were saying. It really is very important to make sure your meeting minutes are reflected. Does everybody see the meetings? It looks a little different on my screen right now. Okay, now it's looking all right. Okay. So we have the secretary report first, then the treasurer report. And that's something that we should have that. I know sometimes you have to chase these things down ahead of the meeting. It depends on who has that role, but to have a meeting, you should have a current treasurer report. And it should be submitted in advance for people to look at. And that may vary. And we were all volunteers in these roles, and hopefully everybody provides their reports ahead of time. So we get down to consent agenda items. These are kind of what I rely on the president to provide. What are these consent agenda items? And I list them here, and we work through those. Then there's the VP reports. Again, hopefully they've submitted them ahead of time and you're just attaching a copy. But this is where you may have some discussion come up that needs to be noted in the minutes based on those reports. This is where you'd be more specific. This doesn't really show. I would instead of just saying VP reports, I'd list those different VPs, and the VP of marketing presented their report. And if there was discussion, I might note some of that. But it's not, this isn't like a transcript of the meeting. You keep your recording to refer to when you're developing your draft to send out. But it doesn't need to be necessarily a transcript or even a whole lot of detail. It's just that the meeting occurred, these high points took place. And it's a document of what happened, and it's a reference of what happened and when it happened, especially when there are motions made. Old business, you'll carry, excuse me. You'll carry over the old business from your last meeting, the things that did not get resolved. Sometimes these things carry over for quite a while. New business should be listed on here. If there is any, the president will ask, is there any new business? And then you would add this here. There may or may not be any. And then the announcements go to the order. Hopefully you all do provide this opportunity for the board members just to make announcements that really don't pertain to any of the reports or any of the other business you've discussed. But it's just acknowledge. This says the next board meeting. I don't put that in the announcements. I put that like before where it says the meeting was adjourned. I put that after that. I just have a separate section. this is, where you could announce, like this example is, they put actually mentioned a motion in there, which I don't understand, but is where more they put, this a member was in the hospital, those type of things. I guess this shows because when they announced that, they made the motion to purchase flowers. That makes sense. Again, I don't put names on there, but that's up to you. Does anybody have any questions on that or anything they want to add to how they record their minutes and distribute them? Hopefully this is helpful.
I do have a comment, Jeff. One of the things that I like to put in my minutes are action items. In other words, there's a discussion of an issue, maybe a motion's been made and the discussion follows, and then there are actions that are like promises to be fulfilled as a result. So, if you can record what somebody said they would do, that's all to the good, because then there's a way to follow up in the next meeting to see whether or not it was done.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea. And I would put those like in the actual section where it happens, like for example, in the vice president report. If it was in the marketing area, that would be some of the comments I would put in there. But are you saying you do that, or do you actually have like another heading for action items? I think I've seen that in other types of meetings, but
yeah,
that makes it more. Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, you definitely should capture that, and I think it's kind of up to you where you want to put that. But it is important to keep track of that. That almost kind of becomes old business for the next meeting if there's some,
true.
Another question. I guess I keep trying to do my minutes chronologically, but like in this case, in the good of order, they mentioned if someone's in the hospital. If that came up earlier in the meeting, that could just be recorded at the base under good of the order, couldn't it?
Yeah. You'll find out the meetings. That's where you depending on what comes up in out of order, you might that's where you would step in and say we should talk about this when we get to that section. But you'll know. I mean, it happens. Different things come up in different orders. So. And I think, yeah, you're right. Even if it came up in a different area, you would put it down in the announcements. So it just is easier to reference later. Any other comments or questions about the minutes? Okay. Get back to it's 10:20. Let's see what the next section is and see if we want to cover that before we move and take a quick break. And when we're on break.
While you're doing that, Jeff, I could mention that Don Bees is on my gallery view. I don't believe Don's had the opportunity to introduce himself. And before we take our break, it would be good to give him that.
Right, sounds good. Don, you'll need to unmute in order to do that. Don, on the lower left, you can click on unmute.
Oh, we got it. Okay. Here I am. You got me now?
Yep.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. Well, I'm Secretary of Cleveland West Suburban. Been in that position for 2 years. 1 year, unfortunately, as we all know, has not been much of a year. But yeah, I'm a member of a couple of quartets. One of them registered. That one is called Remember When. I was fortunate enough to be able to join a quartet in the first year that I joined barbershop, which has only been 4.5 years ago. So, and it's been a great experience ever since. I think I wound up with the secretary's job by default because I don't think anyone else wanted to take it. Probably most of you are in the same position. So, yeah, it's been very interesting so far. I sure hope we can all get together again because this year without singing has really stunk, guys.
That's for sure. Thanks,
I miss
Don.
it so
Welcome to the group.
Yeah, I miss singing in front of the public and in particular in front of seniors and in nursing homes where you see people who, well, like I've said in the past, you see some people are almost comatose at times. And all of a sudden you're singing, your songs bring back a memory or something and their faces light up. And for that half an hour, 45 minutes, they're alive again. They're back in the world. And it's a joy. It's well worth the whole thing. It makes it all well worth it. Just great to be part of this organization. That's what I have to say, guys.
Hey, Don, thank you. So let's cover a couple more slides here before we take a break. I have about 5 minutes left. Just, why we use parliamentary procedure. Hopefully everybody is really doing that for their meetings. I have an experience where we don't, but it really is how we organize a meeting and make sure everybody's is heard, that there's a clear decision-making process, and documentation of that. So there's, we use Robert's Rules of Orders. There's a version of it for small boards, and that's in the documentation. But it's a little less strict than just the where the president calls on somebody to talk and da da da. I mean, it's less formal than the full Robert's Rules of Orders. It says, recommendations are used consensus rather than voting motions whenever possible. So you can kind of tell. And it's kind of the president runs this, but you may want to guide the president on these, and they may ask you, whether on this, but if you're familiar with it, and it's, I find at least on the district side, it's generally consensus. Things are getting discussed and agreed on, and that happens, and then we just consent to that. But sometimes there isn't consensus, and then we take a vote. And an example was just even this LeadAc meeting. There was kind of a discussion and different opinions on having this in person versus online and all that. And obviously we agree to do it online this time, but that was not a decision made by consensus. Says use motions in writing when dealing with all money matters, and that is true, unless that's if it's not a budgeted item is when you need to make a motion to spend this X money for this. If it's already budgeted, you don't need to do that, assuming you have a budget that's been approved. And that's one of the things that you need to do in January is in your first meeting in January is approve your budget for the year. Stress written reports from officers, and publish your agenda ahead of time. These are the kind of things that are in those Robert's rules. So quorum is the minimum number of members required at the meeting to conduct business. For the board meetings, it's 50% of the voting members must be present. So that's where I asked you to kind of list that and the pre-work is who do you have on your board, so you know what that number is. It won't change, but it's only the voting members that have to be present to have a quorum of that meeting. At your annual membership meetings, it's at least 30% of the current chapter members. And that's what we talked about, kind of looking at your member list online, who's an active member. That's your number. So if you're active members, there's going to be different numbers. There's going to be the active, there's going to be the lapsed, there's going to be the inactive. Of course, you wouldn't count those, but that's where you get that number. And it's 30% of the members must be present for that annual membership meeting. So shouldn't be an issue, because that's not a large percentage of the members, but hopefully you have that. I think this will be a good point to take a break and then come back and kind of go into some of these more specifics on parliamentary terms. My clock says 10:29. Let's take a 10-minute break, and I'll start back up in 10 minutes. But I'll just
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, welcome back. It looks like people are back online. I'm going to go ahead and keep on going. We stopped here on the parliamentary terms. I'm not really going to go over this. I honestly, I can't speak to it, but this information's on here. There's the whole Robert Rules of Orders. You may want to review that document. The next section is on member reporting. And I honestly am not sure this is up to date. It's goes through the regular member, youth member, senior legacy, life, and 50-year. That part's okay. I think they've changed some of these dues things. So I refer you to the member site when it's up, and I can even send, what I'll do after this meeting is I'll check this to see if I see any changes on this, but I hate to really spend time on discussing this, because I believe this is out of date. Because yeah, see, I just don't think this is right. And the application form, this talks about the paper form that you can download and do, and I believe you can still use that. It's just you can send in that form, or do it online. And then the application process. Yeah, this is kind of the you doing the paper process. Are some of you still, even though we've been able to do it online for at least a year now, are some of you still doing the paper process? Of course, I don't know how many have had new members in the last year, honestly.
Yeah, we do it all electronically, and I can start it, then just let the membership committee take care of the rest of it.
Okay. Yeah, that's like I said, that's how I've done it when I was a chapter secretary. It's kind of needed to be familiar with it, make sure it works right, but it's kind of more the membership person that should be able to manage that.
Jeff, just as a comment, I've been secretary for 6 years and I've never done any of that.
Okay.
I was not aware that the chapter secretary could control the roster. I could have access to the roster, but it's just something that I thought BHS was doing.
Yeah, what you mean once they're online, or once they are a member?
The only thing I do on the BH or on the website is indicate who the officers are, but I don't actually make any entries. One of the questions I have is, do I as secretary have the ability to show members as active or inactive? And the way inactive could be defined is also an interesting question, because in this pandemic era, a lot of people are inactive because they can't participate virtually.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. We, as a chapter, we keep track of inactive as like how many, whether they're attending chapter meetings or not, or rehearsals, either one. But no, as far as active in the society records, are they paid? That's what active means. Are they up to date on their dues? What I've seen in this new site, maybe if we get time, I can share my screen and I could show you what the new site looks like. But the interesting part I've seen is and it might be just my access, but I know I can go in and update how much the dues are, like for our chapter or for the district. And I know I couldn't do that before online. So. And it certainly isn't something you probably are changing very often either, but it looks like that can be done online now. Yeah, these payment plans. Yeah, that was when I looked at my membership, it showed I'm active because I've been on this monthly plan ever since I joined the society 18 years ago. It just comes out of my checking account every month. So by that, it only shows I'm paid through January 27th of this year, which is kind of a weird, like it's going to update every month, I guess. We're going to have to go through a little learning curve on this thing. This explains more of reinstatement members once they've lapsed. They give them, there are like 6 months where they can be lapsed and then pay to renew. And I forget who asked me the question, but somebody, maybe one of you attending this meeting, but in December I sent out a email to all I looked at all of our chapters to see if they had added their leaders for 21, because I know that just from experience that if that's not done before December 31st, you cannot go in and do that January 1st. You can't. So and there's a process to fix that. It's not too hard, but if you haven't done it already, you probably aren't familiar with any process. But if it's not in date, you can call the society and they'll give you access to do that.
Jeff, why is it set up that way? Why can't you add them after January?
It's probably just a system setting, it's based on the date. It would be my guess. I honestly don't know.
I think I can answer that because it happened to me a couple of years ago. I'm the secretary and I go in to add the new officers with their year ending time, and I had lapsed myself. So therefore I did not have access to the website, and I had to contact them and they reinstated me. And then I was able to go in and show the other officers with their expiration dates.
Yeah.
Jeff.
It's a quirk, and maybe that might change with the new one, but that's why I tried to remind everybody. And I think I only did it a week or so ahead of time because of my schedule, but it's kind of a quirk.
So Jeff, on this lapse thing, as I'm seeing this, it says that, for instance, if a member goes lapse in January, his dues were due in January, and he doesn't sign up again until the middle of the year, June. His membership is still from the old membership, so he loses 6 months. Is that so?
No. So if he does it within the 6 months, he continues with the history. If this is after the 6 months, you have to start over.
Okay.
Jeff, I have a question. In the Akron chapter, we have several members that did not renew their membership because of the current, COVID situations, and they're not getting anything for their money. Is that common? Have you heard that from other chapters?
I haven't heard it, but I've seen it.
Oh, okay.
I've seen the numbers go down, but I haven't heard why. I would assume that. So, and that'll be, I'll look into that, like whether they'll change maybe some of this reinstatement. Because I know one of the chapters, and I forget who it was, and you may be on the call here, but you tried to add You tried to add the leaders for 21, but they had let their memberships lapse like way back in March or something last year. I mean, it was a long time ago. And they didn't, they still show up on the list as lapsed, but you can't add them, when you're trying to add them as a leader, it just wouldn't even let them do that because they were lapsed. So I was hoping to figure that out with the new site, but that's, I hate to keep saying this, but it's unfortunately this class is before this new site comes up, and I will schedule another meeting once the new site's up and I'm familiar enough with it that we can talk through it and make more sense of that. So it sounds like everybody would like to do that, and then obviously it would be optional, but I'll put that out there.
I must say that if you screw up in some way, I have found that BHS is the support group, customer support is very helpful in getting you straightened out. So I found that anyway.
Yeah, me too. Sometimes you hesitate to reach out and you get frustrated trying to do things, but really, they are very helpful. I think you need to submit an email, they'll call you back. I think it's a little bit more difficult just to call and expect somebody to answer and help you, but they've been pretty responsive in helping me when I've needed it.
I've had that same experience. A couple of years ago, I did not get my officers updated in time, and when I went in after January 1st to do it, I couldn't get in at all, and they pretty quickly and easily got me back up and running, and it just took an email to them and a call back and we were going again.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear other people have the same, because it's been my experience whenever I've really needed assistance. They're really quick to respond, which they should be, but we know that doesn't always happen with different organizations. So moving on to the required filing, talked about this up front, the chapter incorporation. You just need to keep that up to date, and then that's with your state website, or your state office. IRS 990. Now, I personally, I'm not involved in that. I just the secretary role is just make sure that gets done. Generally that's your treasurer is going to do that, unless you are the treasurer also. I think and then the financial review, someone asked me this question last month, if the financial review would not be required for actual year 20 because of the lack of activity, like if the chapter had not done anything. And I haven't heard, my answer was I hadn't heard otherwise, that it had been changed. So I honestly didn't ask the society either, but yeah, I think it just makes it much easier to do a financial review if you had less activity. This just goes into a lot more detail on that incorporation. That should not be an issue for anybody. It's just a matter of keeping that up to date. And more detail on the 990 filing. And that's on this calendar document. I'll open that up here at some point. There's a Word document. I forget what it's called, but it was like the last document in the list. I did put a link in the chat here to the Google Drive. I think someone asked for that earlier, so when I put that link in there, where all these documents are stored. And then there's question: is it still 6 months, or is the difference from? Yeah, that's what I'll follow. That question about 6 months, I'll follow up on that. This gives you more detail on the financial review. And I think for the secretary, you just need to make, kind of bring that up maybe in your first meeting this year, just a reminder, either to your president or to the treasurer or both. We need to be aware and get this started, so we have that filed by June 30th. I actually do get a list of all the chapters in my district that have not done this, and they're considered non-compliant by the society, and there are some on that list, and they're asking me this year to kind of be more proactive in reaching out to chapters and making sure they know of this. So. I will do that, I guess. I had not done that in the past. Chapter legal files. I know when I was the chapter secretary and when I became chapter secretary, I had a meeting with the prior secretary and he handed over a small file box that had this type of information. And so you should at least have or know where your chapter charter is. I'm sure a lot of these chapters have been around a very long time, and hopefully you still have that. But that's a good thing to have, and just various records. I did when I did that for my chapter, and I want to say I was the secretary like 6 or 7 years ago. I put those all. I had those all scanned in, so I also had a backup copy, but I still maintained the actual file. I passed that on. And that's what happened to me as district secretary. Is the prior secretary happened to be here in Columbus, also the same city where I'm in. Then we met, and he gave me handed him a bigger box of documents. But I have all the paper documents for the district, and again, it had them scanned and have a electronic backup also. I guess fortunately that's what I do in my occupation with the university. I manage the contracts for Ohio State, and when I first started there 8 years ago, they were all paper, and my project was getting those all digitized and put into a system. So I have experience in doing that. It's not all that difficult. If you don't want to scan them yourselves, you can take them to the FedEx office or those kind of places, and they'll do that. It's just a recommendation. I just hit the wrong key here. So this is kind of a list of what you should probably have: or the chapter license and corporation records, the certificate of continued existence. That's part of the corporation. That, like with the state of Ohio, when I log on to the site, it shows when we filed as a district or as a chapter, and then it has all those documents every time we renewed that to show we continue to exist. Now, I assume that must be for all states because it's on this, but it may look different depending on what state you're in. And hopefully you're aware of that, and the prior secretary made you aware of that when you started. Standard chapter bylaws, those are on the society website. I hope you're all aware. I mean, there aren't individual bylaws by chapter. They're all the same, and they're on the society website. But you should have those available too, because a lot of times you get called on in your board meetings to refer to the bylaws. So you just have that. And you may want to even especially if you have new board members, is give them a copy of the bylaws at the beginning of the year, just to refer to. Now, the chapter rules and regulations are specific to chapter. You can have a separate, I think it's called a statement of policy, would be well, I mentioned that also. So those are specific by chapter. They can't overrule the bylaws, but they do add more detail to the bylaws. Applications, I don't know that you need to keep those in your, well, I mean, it doesn't say whether they're paper or not. I would not keep the paper copies, but keep a copy of those. Those would be on the society website also. Here it mentions your board and chapter meeting minutes. And there's another slide here. We kind of go through how long you need to keep each of these documents, but you definitely want to have those, either whether you keep them or whether you have a space on your chapter website to post them for members to see. But that's a good thing to be aware of. And I'm not going to go through all these, but we're going to get to these ASCAP licensing here soon. Oh, here, so how long I keep them. This kind of lists the different year lengths that you should keep these different documents. And I know, beginning of the year is probably a good time to go through your records if you have them either electronically or in paper or both, and just kind of get rid of ones you don't really need to keep any longer. Preparing for natural disaster. This reminds us all to have these copies. I had a little challenge myself. I got a new. I used my work laptop for doing this type of thing, and I had all these documents for LeadAc from last year were on my work laptop. Well, I got a new work laptop this year. Unfortunately, I had saved those documents to a shared drive, but I didn't remember where they were. So it was a little challenge finding them, but at least I had them. I was panicked a little bit last month when I was getting ready for this, thinking, oh man, I might have to create this over again. But just it's good to have backups. Is your chapter prepared for a visit from your federal government? And that's just, making sure you you have these documents and have them available. Hopefully that's it certainly isn't something that our chapter has had or district. It's my 18 years around. That's why we do all this and document what we do and keep track of it. So chapter elections. And I think this was a big challenge this year with having virtual meetings and everything, but because I know I got notifications of a lot of these that were held late, but they just a reminder for you that the elections by our bylaws must be held by October 15th. And I know it's always been a challenge for our chapter to do that, but it's just, that's what we're supposed to do. And then that you have to have an annual membership meeting. So we generally you coincide that election with that annual membership meeting. And you need to announce the candidates. So this is where, like, in the list of what you need to do when your January meeting, you should have the nominating committee established, and that's usually something the president does, is establish that committee. But you establish that and document that in your January board meeting minutes. So there's nominating committee established well ahead of when they need to have nominations. You need to announce those candidates 2 weeks prior to the annual meeting. So either I recommend you either use that document for a calendar, or just set up some of these different dates on your own, whatever calendar system you use, whether it's online or a paper calendar. Kind of put some of these reminders in. It's only a few each month, but that would help just keeping organized.
And Jeff, question.
Yeah.
So elections by October 15th.
But anyway,
You mentioned that was a challenge this past year. Without exposing any specific chapter, my experience is that that's not occurring. How rigid is that?
Well, I don't know that anybody follows up to make sure it happens on those dates, but it's just in the bylaws that it must be held. I know, chapter I was a secretary in didn't always have it by October 15th. It obviously would occur before the end of the year, but that's what the document is. But if you're asking, will it be like disavowed or voided if it didn't happen by October 15th? I don't know that happens.
Right. And does there have to be an annual election if officers are elected without term?
I would say, I don't know. That's a good question. I guess you have to look at how you're electing your officers. That's a good question. I don't know the answer off the top of my head.
Okay, and when you're talking about officers.
So to be a not-for-profit organization, you have to have an annual meeting. So that is right. As far as the terms of the officers, good question. I don't know that off the top.
Understood. Yeah, and officers were referring to the three: president, secretary, treasurer. Correct. Nothing correct. Beyond that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I will see if I can find an answer for that and post it to everybody. But I'm sorry, I just don't know off the top of my head. Yeah, it kind of goes a little bit more details on the elections, slates, and sorry. And then here's where reporting that the secretary must report the new officers on the member no later than the 15th. It'll let you report up to the 31st, but that's that date you've talked about. And then of course, when they resign or replace, they should be updated right away, because the site, if it still works the way it has, gives access to certain things by what office you have. So, for example, you as a secretary, you can change you have access to change and update officers. So, if the secretary changes, you want to, especially if they're like replaced or there's some strange circumstances, you just want to make sure that those are current. So people that should have access to certain functions are the right people. I'm sorry, I'm just reading the chat here. So aside from election, what else is required for annual membership meeting? Okay, just rehearsal. It happens to feature. I think you need to record. You need to take minutes of the meeting and record that it occurred at such and such date, at such and such time, who attended, those type of things, and just record that you had a meeting. Of course, yeah, it definitely could be a normal rehearsal, but you need to announce ahead of that rehearsal. There's 2 times that if you're going to have elections there, that you're going to have elections. But yeah, it can be it does not have to be a separate day than your rehearsal day, if that's what you're asking. So moving on, I flip through that pretty quickly here. Elections and roster and personnel. And this is interesting because someone on the board asked me about this also. It's publishing a chapter roster for chapter members, and and publishing it quarterly. I just personally I rely on the society to have the chapter roster, not keep a separate roster of who's paid, who's up to date on their dues and all that, and publish that on a chapter website. I find that duplicative and could be incorrect. So at least for our chapter, we referred our chapter roster with a link to the society website, and I personally think that's how is an effective way to do that. But I guess you have that option if you want to publish a separate roster to your chapter that's just chapter members. And you may do that. I mean, you may do, because of that difference we kind of discussed of, they're paid members, but they, never attend meetings. They may have moved out of state, but they just want to keep in touch and pay the chapter. We have that. We have, really active, physically active members versus paid active members. And that will not be on the society website.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
The second point there, I think, is very important to print out or send to your members a list of the current roster with names, dates, all the information that's on there. Ask them to update this, because people are mobile. Their names and dates and all that information changes. And if you don't do that at least once a year, you may lose contact, because when somebody moves or gets married, they don't always notify BHS. So the BHS file is not up to date. So it's a good thing for each chapter to make that information available. And then we as secretaries can provide that information on to BHS.
Yeah, that's I don't. So that is a change on the new members only. Is you can make your own changes, because I did that when I went in there yesterday. It only showed my name. So when I clicked on my name, it gave me the option to edit that. And when I did that, it then displayed all the other. It displayed my address, my phone number, my email, my cell phone, all that. And then there's a little box next to it, the check mark it, if you want that displayed to anybody, publicly displayed. So the default is nothing displays, it just displays your name. So then you have to go in manually and change that. But I don't think we could do that before. But that's where, and I could change what it had, like an old phone number. I changed that in there. It had something else strange. So it lets you go in and change your own information. So I think that is new. But I think what you're saying, and what I would say is, it does let you download it as like an Excel document. Is download that list, send it to your chapter members, and ask them to review that. If it's current and if it needs to be current, I would ask them to go in and update it. I don't know that the U.S. Secretary can change that, but we'll find that out soon enough when we have access to that.
Well, I think the main thing is that I need to know if somebody's email has changed, if their address has changed. So I need that for my information, and I keep that in the chapter files, and I email that copy of that out at least once a year to all of our members and ask them to update their information if there's been any changes. So at least I have to have that information, and as the local chapter, whether it's in, I can't go to BHS and download it if they haven't changed it, but I can get it directly from them.
Well, that's where I would just, you certainly can do it that way. When I was chapter secretary, and then the subsequent ones just say we're not doing it that way. You need to keep your own information updated on the website. But that's your kind of your preference. But it's going to be even more difficult now that you have to actually go in and manually make that information available. And I think hopefully, when this site goes live, there is a link for like tutorials and information. When I click on that link, it wasn't live yet. So I couldn't, because my first thing I was looking for were these rosters, and I couldn't find them at all. So either they weren't live or I just didn't know where to look for them. But either way, I couldn't find them. Well, passing of a member. Society chapter secretary is responsible for notifying the society when a member passes. Email the customer service, and then the society does send a condolence letter to the appropriate next of kin. I just didn't. I don't know that my chapter. I don't know if anybody died when I was secretary, because I didn't do this. I assume other people have, but it's important. You want to make sure that the society's aware when a member has passed.
Question, Jeff. Actually, two questions. I guess I didn't realize that they sent any kind of a letter to the next of kin. So they really do that, do they?
It's my understanding. I see some heads nodding.
We've had unfortunately several of our members pass, some of them with a COVID this year, and so one of the things that I have been doing is sending Sharon Stevens an obit. I don't know. I just started doing that. I don't know if she does anything with it or not, but to let her know and have information about our member that passed. Does she do anything with that? Do you know?
Well, in what role are you sending that to her? Is she your chapter?
Beg pardon?
Communications?
Beg pardon?
I mean, Sharon Stevens, as my understanding, is not a district officer or a chapter officer.
Yeah, well, she's JAD, isn't she?
No.
Oh,
she's not on the JAD leadership. She's on the convention team, I know, but not on the. She's not a district leader.
She sends us all the information, sends us information about what JAD requires and stuff. I don't know. I guess.
Well, she may be just doing that, for your chapter, but no, she's on the convention committee, and so, obviously sends a lot of information on conventions, but she's not a leader in the, doesn't have a leadership role in the district.
Bottom line is, at some point in time, and I can't remember, people had put out information about someone that's passed.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be like in a bit. Do we do that? Should we do that to anybody in JAD or anything?
No, just do it to the society.
Just the society, and that's all we need, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, because I think what was it, the Apple Orchard Express or Apple Cider Express, that one we got weekly, I'm not sure. I think you had to send, if you wanted that kind of information, that you would send it to that person, but they're not doing the Cider Express anymore either. So I don't think there was a real process for that, for doing that, other than if you knew who to contact, like Doug Smeltz was doing the Cider Express, you'd send that information to him, but he's not doing that anymore. There's going to be a new process for that, and I haven't heard what that's going to be yet.
Another reason for sending it to customer service is because their name's going to come up in the next harmonizer.
Mm-hmm. That, and you don't want them billed anymore. I mean, there's various reasons why you want to do that. But yeah, I look at this and I guess I was fortunate when the year I was secretary, we didn't have a chapter member pass, so I just don't have experience doing that. So from there, we move on to society youth policy. Let's see what the policy. Yeah, like I said, it's pretty basic here. It must have permission of their parent to participate in the chapter activities, and that an adult member must supervise the youth at all times in activities. So that is important. That you know that has to happen, and that's identified. I know. I won't even go into it. We had a big issue in our chapter with that, and it's important you're aware of, there has to be the parent guardian must sign this policy if they're going to join, and that there really is somebody responsible, not excuse me, not necessarily keeping track of these, but you're just aware of the youth being in attendance at your functions. And chapter insurance. We kind of touched on this already also, but the society provides liability insurance for all the chapters. So it does not, I know that, because I just know we had to use it for several reasons, and I think it's a good if you're for the, not necessarily the secretary, but somebody probably should be aware of what the policy is, and just it's pretty easy to initiate the claim and work with that, but it covered liability and property damage, and we had stolen property, and I think there was a limit on that. And our claim, our property exceeded that limit. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I think it's something if you might want to review on the society website, just to make sure if you have like ours, we had a trailer and we stored all our stuff in it, and it got stolen, and it was more than what this general policy covered, and we could have purchased additional coverage had we been aware of that.
Jeff, my understanding is that there's $1,000 deductible for that coverage.
There is. There's 1,000, and I believe at the time, and this was probably 10 years ago or more, I think the limit was like $10,000. And the standard was, and you were able to buy more if you were aware of it and chose to, and that's something you may, we weren't aware of at the time. So,
question on the liability insurance, bodily injury, and property damage.
Mm-hmm.
It says protects the chapter district and society from third-party claims, does not cover individual chapter members. So if we're having an activity and somebody falls down and hurts themselves, if they're not a member, they're covered. But if they are a member, they're not covered. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Kind of works the same as your homeowner policy or really any business policy. And again, I believe if you want to buy, it would be called personal injury coverage, I think it's called. in general, your homeowner's policy covers like there's a minimum amount. I think you're able to buy that additionally if you want, but the standard policy does not cover that. Yeah, as far as a certificate, sometimes you'll need certificates to provide to venues that you're either rehearsing in or having shows in. You can request those from the society website. Oh, here it goes. Some of these additional premiums, multiple additional insureds. If you have questions on that, I would contact the society and just confirm what exactly is covered and isn't, and if you can buy the additional coverages. Okay, chapter bonding insurance is interesting. They're already automatically, or each chapter is automatically covered for this employee dishonesty. Chapters may not opt out of it. There's a limit of 50,000. And here's where we're involved. The last bullet point here, the chapter board at the beginning of each year should appoint approved chapter financial handlers for the year. Non-members must be cited in minutes in order for bond to carry. So this is where you need to not even necessarily discuss it in your first meeting, but you need to include it in the minutes as to who are the financial handlers. So it's generally just the treasurer, and it might be your events chairman, but it's not. And this question's come up in other classes. And some chapters include their entire roster just to be safe. Well, that's not allowed. You need to be specific in who it is, and it's not everybody. So just beware that. Put in there. You can add more on as you go. So say if you have a show and you have XY, you have spouses handling tickets and ticket money, you want to add them in your meeting minutes as financial handlers for those events. So that way, if for any reason there's money missing or there's a reason to make a claim under the bond, that they're covered. But if you don't, and I believe the society is pretty good at asking you for that documentation, or the insurance company is, that the financial handlers were identified ahead of time. So just be aware of that and just keep up to date with that. Unfortunately, we've had to use that. Here's this property. Here's where we talk about the insurance is optional. The chapters with rise, sound equipment, uniforms. Yeah, so here's a list. You should just review what you have and look at this, and just confirm with the society that what you have is coverage. It does not cover automobile, moving vehicles. Yeah, we've had as a chapter, you may have people hauling risers to district events or other events. You just want to make sure your chapter is covered for those. Here's the number and the email to start the claim process. I forget what company it is, but obviously it's not, the society isn't self-insured. It's a commercial insurance company that actually handles the claim once you filed it. And they were, when I did ours for our trailer stuff, it was a very easy claim process. And you just had to give them a list of what it was and what the replacement was, and we got a check. That's that $1,000 deductible. So show licensing and clearances. This is where we'll interact throughout the year when we're having shows. The chapter submits the form to me, the district secretary, and as far as I know, it's still a paper form, and you can download it from the document center, complete it and send it to me. with the check, I make a note of it. I provide the date on to the district web manager to post on there. And I'm always getting questions on this because I don't have access to add those dates on. So, and sometimes it doesn't happen immediately. So I'll try to be more diligent on that and going forward, but that's been a challenge in the past, and I apologize. But once I get the form, I send the email and I copy the person who submitted it. However, the form doesn't ask you for your email address. So when I send an email, I go to the society website, look who the chapter contact is, send it to that person, maybe even the secretary. I mean, but again, like it was pointed out, if those records aren't current, then it goes to whoever is on that list. So I ask, and most of you have been really good at that, is you put your email address on the form also. They ask for your name and that, I think your name and membership number maybe, but your name and role, but it doesn't specifically ask for your email. But please put your email address on there so I can send that pretty much a confirmation that we received it. There is a district policy or whatever you want to call it about having multiple chapter shows on the same date within a certain mileage radius. We generally, since I've been the secretary, we've never had any dispute on that. I kind of look at that and see, oh, there's already another show in this area. Generally I'm aware of that ahead of time because they've kind of reached out to me and said, we've worked it out with the other chapter that we're going to do the show on the same date, one's in the afternoon, one's in the evening or something. I've only had a couple of those, honestly, in the last couple of years, but that's really all I do with this form, is look to see that there's not another show scheduled in that area, and then I send the date to I was sending it to the Cider Express, but that won't happen anymore. But then we put it on the district calendar, which is on the JAD, the Sing JAD website, just to show people that look there that's there. Then from there, the form goes to the society with the check, and that's the last I see of it.
Question, Jeff. It says send 3 copies. I don't think I've ever done that. Do you want 3 copies?
No. I think it used to be, no, you don't need to send 3 copies. Because then I sign each of them. I mean, people do it, but then I have 3 copies to sign and all that. I just send me the 1 copy. I'll make a copy. Anymore, I'm doing it, emailing it anyway. So I send the original with the check to the society, but I'll keep the copy, and then I'll email that copy back to you as the submitter. There's also a little form that the prior secretary to be made out, like a Word form that kind of more explicitly states that I forget what the wording is on it, but there's you'll get the copy of your submission, and then a copy of the acceptance, for better terms. You'll get 2 documents back in an email, just to confirm that I've received it. And then when I receive it, and I generally only do this like on weekends, because when we're up and running, not this past year, but the first year I was secretary, I mean, there are like a lot of district shows. I mean, I get them probably a submission 1 or 2 a week. So I wait until the weekend and work on it and send the reply when I'm good. Obviously, sometimes I get behind, but I'll be better at that. The other ASCAP licensing, it doesn't come to me. I mean, that's something generally I found in our chapter that the show committee or other people did that. As secretary, I didn't do that. But again, as a secretary, you just want to make sure that does occur. There's a lot of details on that ASCAP form that the secretary would never know. Yeah, here's this 3 copy. Yeah, you can send me 3, that's fine, but I really don't need 3. Add your email to the form. Right. So you're really not supposed to finalize anything until this has all occurred. But obviously, we're all working on this kind of in concurrently. And maybe it's happened in the past where the district has said, no, you can't do a show on this date, but I haven't seen that happen since I've been around. This ASCAP license is filed at the end of the year. I'm honestly not too familiar with this, so I'll leave this in the document for you to review. I assume that you're not the one doing that, but if you are, then you should be aware of this information. There's another document in that shared drive that kind of goes into this in more detail. This is about your contracts and everything with the show venues. So here's where you might want to have, let's see, I included in the packet the tax exempt documentation. You do want to, and it's kind of strange looking because it's a really old document, but that's what you need to present. Like if your chapter is buying anything, you should use the tax exemption document and not pay sales tax on these things. But yeah, as a secretary, you'll keep the contracts. Keep those in your chapter files. This bullet about the chapter treasurer responsibilities, again, that's not something you need to do, but you might want to remind the treasurer if you're paying talent more than $600, that might not be current, so that they need to file a 1099 form to the IRS. All right, copyright. So chapter secretary responsibility is to copyright. And this is, again, may or may not, you may not be doing this as part of your role, but you need to make sure this is done. That when like the music team's distributing copies of music, that it's done according to the right copyright, or downloading it, all that. I honestly, as a secretary, I did not. I'd ask the question maybe in a meeting, to the music team. I just relied on the music team or that group to be more responsible as far as copyright, and that we were doing things. And I know our chapter was very aware of that, and there were people much more knowledgeable than me that managed that part of it. Because it is a big deal, and I've heard of chapters getting in trouble for this. So just be aware. Contest registrations, and I believe that these are done online anymore. The form is completed through visiting the barberscore.com. I personally did not do these, but I believe these are all done online now. It looks like that is. And usually I've seen the district officer in charge of they are sending the communications out to the chapters on when these dates are, like when we have upcoming contests and all that. They'll send these type of things. As a secretary, I never really manage that other than, again, to make sure that it does get done. Same with this, kind of goes along with the copyright, the certification of the songs and arrangements performed in the contest are legal according to copyright law. Are any of you doing this as secretaries? Yeah, I guess
Yes, I am.
Are you really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm organizing the whole system for keeping track of the music and all the licensing with it.
Wow. Well, sorry to kind of pass over this, because I honestly, that just isn't my expertise. So I hope you weren't asking me for help on this.
No.
Okay.
I know that ASCAP and BMI are on my list for my chapter, so it probably varies who handles it in each chapter.
Okay.
Yeah, I've also been doing that for our chapter.
Well, honestly, if you have questions and want to direct them to me, I'll definitely make sure you get the right answers or get put through to the person. But that's about all I can offer on this. And just maybe we have this document on what we're responsible for, just so we know. And
We've been working directly with Janice Bain on some of our issues.
is that a society person?
Yes.
Okay.
She handles the copyright things for music.
Okay. Yeah. See, I guess I'm glad I haven't had to do that. It doesn't sound like much fun.
Oh, it's a riot.
You must get paid extra for that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They doubled my contract on that one.
I do have a question, Jeff. On that last slide, there was a note about it suggested that the chorus director be a good standing associate. Is it a JAD policy that people directing the chorus be members of BHS?
I'm not sure it's a JAD thing. I think it's a society rule, but I couldn't answer that off the top of my head.
I read something on this. They're changing that this year so that the associate distinction is going away, and you will have to be a member. So male or female, you're supposed to be a member as a society director.
I think remember that the document that we're looking at is concerning contests, not your normal everyday chapter rehearsals. This is about contests.
I think also it's a very old arrangement of this, because now females can be direct members. In the past, they could only be associates.
Right, that's what I just said.
Exactly.
Yeah, the associate distinction is going away.
Agree with what you said.
Yeah.
Something else
you covered was the youth policy, and there's a change in that too. There are certain roles where you're considered as working directly with youth, like a youth camp, or if you are the person listed as responsible for the youth when their parents not there, certain roles, and they're spelled out in a document on the youth policy document on the society website. They now require a background check. So just be aware of that. And if you know you have youth members or youth activities coming up, take a look at that and see who all you need to get that taken care of.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic, and that's where I did have experience with my chapter, and it wasn't so much that it occurred, but it was something that made us aware of background checks, and our chapter does require background checks for any new member. It's just a simple online thing, and every year it gets debated whether we should do that or not. But it's just something we chose to do as a protection, having youth members.
But also with older members who haven't had one done, it is important to note that those should be done if they're working with youth.
Yeah, and it's public information, these background checks, and it sounds kind of invasive, but it's probably a good practice to at least take that step, and it may result in some other actions. Hopefully not, but peace of mind. Yeah, I know there were, and I apologize. And I looked at some of these things I before when setting up for this meeting. I think I don't think this is current, but then when I went to the website this week to look, that's what it was down. So like, oh man, I can't really update that. But so quartet registration for contests. This is for just to register as a quartet with the society. It's not the chapter secretary's responsibility, but you want to kind of be the point of reference for the quartet if necessary. Using the member center for your work. Okay. Yeah, this is all outdated, but it's 11:40. I think we're almost done with these slides. I think I'll go ahead and log on to the member center as it's kind of show you right now what it looks like. So I contacted headquarters. Here's a list of emails. And I think those all look, I mean, they don't change. It's just who answers to them may or may not change, but there's the list. Here's me, here's my email. We put on, is this probably is, this is from last year's. John still Cardinal District Secretary? Anyway, I think we have several districts on here, so I didn't put it, I didn't update, but here's my also on the singjad.com website, there's a link for all of the district
Yeah, sorry, Jeff.
officers and their website. So that's where you would get my email.
Yeah, sorry, Jeff. I mean, John Powers was last year. I'm the new secretary for Cardinal District.
All right. So that's that one. Let me open up the share. Okay, so this is I think this already looks different. When you click on the link up in the upper right for the society, it says members only, I think. You click on that, it gives you this login page. And it says first time logging in, use this forget password. So I already did that, but that's what you would do if you haven't done that yet, is you do that. And then it gives you a, how to, because it'll ask you to change your password. It's I think before it was only, I had the same password ever since I started. It was like 6 characters, and now it's 8 long with 1 number. So it's not too bad. I have some that are just really crazy, but this one's still pretty easy.
So I did that a couple of days ago, and they never sent me an email. So I assume that's because they're just not up and running yet, I guess.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I did it 2 days ago and I didn't get an email. I did it again yesterday and I did. So I think they were just in the process of, so try it again, in the process of bringing it up. Yep.
Yeah, because I got mine yesterday also. So
yeah,
here,
I did it while we were online here and it worked. So
here, see, I don't think they had this yesterday when I looked at it. These, so like if I look at district leaders, that's me. Yeah, I'm not following it on how to add a member to your chapter. That's good. Here's your youth protection. How to enter contest. So these are just articles. I don't see links on on like how I would add and I'm not a chapter officer now, so I don't think I wouldn't see that link, but you could see it looks a lot different than it did before.
I couldn't see that they have any individual member information on here yet either. And I know they said they're coming up Monday. So my guess is they still don't have that database linked with the individual information. So that may be why.
Yeah. So here's what here's how I would expect maybe to see my account would show my districts or my chapters, and I would click on that and see chapter information. I just don't see that. And then I think I looked at my subscriptions. And here's me active. Oh, here's what I would say. It shows my monthly payment starting in 2004. And I'm only active until January 27th of 21, which is kind of weird. It'll let me upgrade it or renew it right here. And this profile, here's where, and I've already done this, is I've gone in and it's let me change my name here. It'll let me not my username, but like my email. I go down here and I don't see it now, but I thought there's an edit where I could update this. Yeah, I don't even see it now. So I hate to show something that I really am not aware of. That's what I'll get more aware of how this works as best I can. And wait, it'll be a couple of weeks, and I'll schedule another one of these Saturday morning meetings, and we can kind of go through it, and I'll help as much as I can, and maybe we can help each other on these things. But it's going to be different. And hopefully better. See, like here, tour and tutorials. And yesterday it took me to nothing. Now it's thinking. Yeah, maybe video tutorials coming soon. Okay, so they're still working on that. So anyway, it's probably not fair to be looking at this before it's really live, but just you'll see it's going to be a little different. All right, well, let me share. I can get to it easily. Here was the quiz I sent out to you guys. So the question, first one, when's the deadline prior to October 15th? The quorum at their annual meeting is 30%. What offices are required for a chapter? So chapter president, secretary, and treasurer. And it says that they can be the same person. So really, you need to have two officers for each chapter. Obviously, hopefully, you probably have more than that, but you have to have those. So the chapter board of directors consists of at least president, treasurer, and secretary. How often are they required to meet? At least quarterly. So I know mine was monthly, except for like August, we didn't meet, and I think even December. But you have to have at least quarterly meetings. The quorum at the chapter board meeting is 50%, and that's 50% of the voting members. So depending on how many you have, it's going to be 50%. An example is of at least 3, but you probably have more than that. It's the voting members of the officers and the VPs. So you want to, and that's something, I put that on my meeting minutes or my agenda. That's why I list all the voting members and the other members, so I could quickly tell, like once they've all joined the call, or I have a quorum joining the call, which for the district it's 6. So once I have 6 of those members on there, we can go forward. And sometimes we don't. So it's just easy to have that set up ahead of time. What is the only chapter committee required by the standard bylaws is the nominating committee. So that's where that.
Can I jump in real quick? Just one clarification. It does say that you have to have a majority over 50%. If you look in it says, board of directors need a simple majority greater than 50%.
Yeah,
so like if you have half your board plus the president, you're good, because they can always break a tie.
Yeah, yeah, good clarification. So true or false, if any chapter does not present any public performance of the year, we do not have to file an ASCAP report. That's true. So last year, there were probably chapters that did not have to file that report. True or false, if my chapter presents a show at which we don't sell tickets or charge, we don't need to file a BMI. Right. It's only for shows that you're charging tickets. And then I guess in the past there was a show fee collected of 10 cents per ticket sold. That we don't do that anymore. And I guess haven't done that for a while. But I guess this question was from the prior district secretary, and he
said, I have a quick question, Jeff. Since our chorus did a virtual chorus, is that a public performance we needed an ASCAP?
Did you charge for it?
No. That's all you sure they do, because it just says public performances. Question 8.
If they do not present any performances, we do not have to file an ASCAP report. But you did a performance, you did not charge for it, so you don't have to do the BMI, but the ASCAP. Oh, good question.
Probably just, well, no harm in doing one.
Yeah, right. That was that. Let me just quickly bring up that other document I kept talking about.
Jeff, I could mention that when I downloaded the ASCAP form for 2019, there was a provision of that form that I was able to declare that we were not doing a show and therefore we were not subject to payment.
Oh, okay, so you still filed the form, but just didn't.
Exactly.
Because of that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not the really source on the ASCAP information because I just did not have to do that. Here, I kept talking about this form, the document that has a calendar, and it's this one. It's the last one in the shared drive. It's called the Chapter Secretary doc. And I just kind of listed down here at the bottom of throughout the year. So, any month is distribute the meeting agenda and minutes. In any content cycle, verify the membership dues. And my experience was I did have to do that. The membership chairman or the show chairman or contest chairman, they would ask me for the membership list and who making sure everybody that was going to be in the contest was current on their dues. So here's our January is attend the LeadAc. We're all doing that. At the first meeting, remind the chapter president to appoint nominating committee and a financial review committee. Just so you have that set ahead of time. Minutes to reflect the chapter money handlers or financial, I think we call them financial handlers, not other one who are considered bonded. And that can be done at any time during the year, but it's probably best to at least start out the year with the treasurer. Minutes reflect that the chapter is subject and governed by the BHS chapter bylaws. I don't remember that, but that's easy enough to add in. May is where you post the profile that the review was done. You're not posting it there, but there's a yes or no, I've done that. September is the notification, that 2-week ahead notification of the meeting. It's going to occur prior to October 15th. And then October's recorded minutes of the annual chapter meeting, report new officers. And then assist your incoming secretary if there was. So that's kind of what I was talking about, is set those dates up in whatever calendar system you use and I'll try to remind the district secretaries of this during those months. And then this is kind of a list of those documents I put up on the shared drive. And then I didn't put that in the shared drive, but on the JAD website, there are documents that are more specific to the district. All right, so we're 11:51. That's really all I have to cover.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
Did people receive a different Zoom meeting number for the 1 o'clock session?
I think it's in this very first look at the top of the chat. There's a link, I think, to all of the Zoom meeting numbers.
Oh, okay.
I personally did not receive any of them.
Yeah, okay.
Is that, Kevin, you posted that. Did that include all those? Do you remember?
That's it. That's the link, because yeah, I checked it. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So after we end this meeting, I'm going to send you a link to submit a online survey for your comments about the session we had today. And any questions or anything else we want to talk about? We have a couple minutes left, but I think I can let you all get ready, take a break before the 1 o'clock if you're going to join that.
I might make a comment, having been in this position for many, many years. The secretary's position is probably the most important position that the chapter can have. And along with that, and equal, it'd be the treasurer. Because over my years of experience, if you have a good president and a poor secretary, you're in trouble. If you have a bad president and a good secretary, you're going to make it all right.
Mm-hmm. I fully agree.
One general comment I'd like to make is that one of the core duties of secretary is record keeping. In this day and age of COVID, and due to the fact that we're all of advanced stage, it's not just important to back up your files on your computer, but think about what would happen if you were to pass on unexpectedly. You want to maintain documents in a place that the chapter can access if you suddenly get out of the picture.
Exactly, out of the picture, even temporarily or longer, is, at least have your, and that's why if you can, like I have ours for our district, most of the documents I have for the district are already on this base camp site we have, but that's why I post mine up there. I have my copy, but I try not to keep anything that's that important just locally on my hard drive. But I don't know, how many districts have shared drives or places like that. But I guess the least you could do is make sure somebody has access to your computer login, that they could get to that information if it's not available from you. Very good point. All right, well, I thank you all for attending. I'm glad we had a good conversation and we did take the whole 3 hours. I wasn't sure it was going to happen, but as you see, there's a lot to cover, a lot of information. And please, don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have questions. Obviously, if I don't have the answers, I will work to get those for you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope to see you all in person.
Next time.
Thank
Sure.
you.
Good night, John Boy.